Biden's directive that money should be dedicated to individuals working in violence prevention. In the state, we're asking for 2% of the ARP dollars be dedicated to boots on the ground, evidence-based organizations working in violence prevention. For the county, we're asking for 5%, and also from the city, at least 5%.
Okay. Are those numbers generally speaking across the country, or is that specific to this area?
No, those numbers are generally speaking across the country so we can have some fidelity. However, we encourage cities, states, and counties to give more if they can. The reason why we want to do that is because we're trying to heal communities and complement the work that individuals in public safety, particularly law enforcement, is doing. So by investing in individuals that's boots on the ground doing violence prevention work, it complements the work that law enforcement does and takes them out of precarious situations where they might engage with individuals that's outside the scope of their work, and they can focus more on police work.
Okay, and this is part of it. You guys have been on a national tour, I understand.
Yes, we have. So far, we've been able to dedicate right at $1 billion, $984 million. We have went to about 14 cities, and we've seen some of the challenges that St. Louis is going through, and we have talked to individual organizations in St. Louis, and we felt compelled to come to St. Louis to support their efforts to secure ARP dollars.
Okay, are you meeting with city or county leaders while you're here?
Yes, that's the goal, to meet with city and county leaders to inform them of some of the opportunities available through the ARP dollars.
Okay. Do you have any meetings scheduled or anything? Or?
Informal meetings are scheduled after program today.
Oh, here?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you know what city or county officials?
We had hoped to meet with Cori Bush and potentially the mayor.
Okay. Do you know if you're having any success at that? Do you know?
Not at this time. We're still putting everything, coordinating everything as we speak.
Okay. In talking to the community leaders you references, what are you hearing regarding what our needs are?
I'm hearing a lack of resources that allow them to do the continuum of care necessary to address the root causes of violence. And that's what we really want to do. We want to empower faith-based leaders, but also individuals that are able to engage individuals at the highest risk, so they will have an opportunity to mitigate situations before it escalates to the point where gun violence occurs.
Okay. This is financially speaking, for cities like St. Louis, this is an almost unprecedented opportunity with these ARP dollars coming in. How do we go about making sure that money goes to where it needs to?
That's the thing. The ARP dollars are supposed to be dedicated to organizations or communities that were heavily impacted negatively by COVID. One of the things the President of the United States has asked is that we combat violence, because there is a correlation between violence and the COVID pandemic. So what we want to do is try to empower organizations on the ground with resources so that they can, as they did during the pandemic, help fight the violence epidemic.
Okay, you mentioned the Biden administration, Susan Rice and company. What role is the Biden administration playing in this?
Oh, fantastic question. The Biden administration is at the forefront of this fight against violence. They're rolling out a program in 16 cities, a pilot. And also, we're working on securing $5.3 billion in the Break the Cycle bill, along with President Biden has dedicated $220 million in his new budget to violence prevention. So President Biden has done unprecedented things in terms of fighting violence in Black and brown communities.
Dr. Tillman, what are we missing here? Any points you're hoping to make that we haven't referenced?
Yeah, a few things. It's incumbent that leaders now move toward healing the communities. And when I say healing the communities, because of the spike that we went through in violence and the uprising and all the turmoil that went on in the country, now's the time for them to be leaders, take the mantle, be courageous, invest in things that can prevent situations from happening, and not put too much pressure on law enforcement to be everything for everybody. I think that's irresponsible. I think we have to put resources around public health professionals and people with cultural sensitivity and cultural competency that understand the situations that's going on in Black and brown communities.
So what would you like, how do we go back a year from now, 5 years from now, a month from now, and check our progress here? How do we know how we've done?
Well, I really believe history is watching us. I believe we're going through a tough period in America, and we're at a pivotal point where we can turn things around. And the only way we can turn things around is together. We saw the impact that we can have on a pandemic when we gathered everybody within the ecosystem to address COVID. We must take those same efforts and that public health approach to address violence in our most vulnerable communities.
What are we missing here, Dr. Tillman?
What we're missing in turn, robust resources. I think even as I think sometimes we ask questions when we already have the answer, and it's somewhat rhetorical. If you drive through St. Louis, Chicago, Philadelphia, Washington, and you see how desolate the communities are, how starved they are for investments, how they are policed different than other jurisdictions, then we have the answer right in front of us. We want healthy, vibrant communities and Black and brown communities so they can have the same quality of life as their white counterparts.
So you made a statement earlier about the resources being able to help the police. What exactly did you mean about that?
I said we are a complement to the police. Police by nature are responsive. You don't call the police and say, you know what, two people arguing, I don't know where it's gonna go. Could y'all come over here just in case? No, but you can call public health professionals and say, hey, I know these two individuals have a proclivity to commit violent acts. There's some individuals where things can escalate and go beyond the scope of just an argument. And those public health professionals can come in and mediate that situation, de-escalate it, and guess what? Everybody goes home safe. Typically, when police come into a situation, somebody's going to jail, even if it's just an argument. And we don't want that. We want to be able to have these conversations with people in our community ourselves. We want to be able to have the opportunity to deal with the mental issues that people are going through in our community. We understand the trauma they are going through. Why? Because we've endured similar situations and we're able to matriculate into a different space. So we want to provide them with the supports they need in order to combat the situations they're in a positive way.